You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
I'm back. Rodrance for Black and White Sports. Well, the other day, during the Damar Hamlin situation that occurred during Monday Night Football, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, every time they would come back to them or cut back to them during the broadcast, there was a narrative going on that they were going to have a 5-minute warm-up, talking about the Bills, talking about the Bengals, after this incident was over, or if it reached some kind of conclusion, they were going to get 5 minutes to warm up, and we would be back to the game. Now, of course, that did not happen because the incident was much worse than I think anybody thought it was initially, until you kind of heard all that get squashed when you started hearing 9 and 10 minutes of CPR. You realized you were dealing with a life and death scenario, not something else, okay? And Joe Buck has come out and he has said that the other night's kind of a blur and everything went crazy. Now, we got up the next morning, the NFL and Troy Vincent was shutting down the idea that anybody ever told anybody that they were going to have 5 minutes to warm up and boom, the teams were going to be back on the field playing football. Except Joe Buck was saying during the telecast that was what he was hearing, okay? Well, sure enough, the NFL, they've denied it. Troy Vincent denied it, said there was no truth to it. Now ESPN and Joe Buck come out and said, no, this did come from the NFL. The NFL did say this, and they're not backing down. And the reason this is a story is because the NFL looked incredibly bad. While one of their players was potentially facing death on the field, they were talking about giving the players on the field 5 minutes to warm up and get back out there and play ball. And then the NFL tried to cover their ass because this became a very big story across social media and across news. I did a video yesterday morning on this when Troy Vincent came out and made the statement, and I said then, I don't believe him. I don't believe what Troy Vincent is saying. Joe Buck, a absolute pro, one of the best in the business that's been around for 30 years. His father was in the business. Joe Buck just didn't come out with this out of nowhere and just make up this narrative of 5 minutes. It came from the league. I kept saying that. I didn't buy what Troy Vincent was saying. And Joe Buck and ESPN is coming out, and they are absolutely not backing off. The NFL did tell them that the players were going to have 5 minutes to warm up following Damar Hamlin's injury. The NFL looks real bad about this for two different reasons. One, they had a player dying, and two, it looks like they're caught in a serious lie here, and it's not looking good. The NFL has denied giving the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals just 5 minutes to warm up after watching Damar Hamlin go through cardiac arrest and receive CPR during the Monday night game. However, ESPN and lead Monday Night Football broadcaster Joe Buck are holding firm that this is what happened. Buck, in his first year with ESPN, after working for Fox from 1994 to 2021, said on air during the broadcast that the teams would have 5 minutes to warm up and resume play. In an interview with the New York Post, Buck said the information about the game resuming came from ESPN rules expert John Perry, who was in direct communication with the league. Quote, they said they were going to give 5 minutes of warm-up to these players to get ready, Buck told the Post by the phone. ESPN, the broadcast home of Monday Night Football since 2006, said it reported on air what it was told in real time. There was constant communication. This is a direct quote. There was constant communication in real time between ESPN and the league and game officials, ESPN said in a statement. As a result of that, we reported what we were told in the moment and immediately updated fans as soon as new information was learned. This was an unprecedented, rapidly evolving circumstance. All night long, we refrained from speculation, and I noticed Joe Buck and Troy Aikman were being very careful the other night. Okay, you could tell. They wanted to watch what they said. They wanted to be factual, and they did not want to speculate. Nobody was speculating the other night, and that's responsible. There really wasn't any speculation as to what was going on with Damar Hamlin and what was going to happen to the game. NFL executive Troy Vincent shot down the notion and went so far as to call it ridiculous and insensitive. Well, you've been called a liar by Joe Buck and ESPN. I'm not sure where that came from, Vincent said early Tuesday morning. Frankly, there was no time period for the players to get warmed up. Frankly, the only thing that we asked was that referee Sean Smith communicate with both head coaches to make sure they had the proper time inside the locker room to discuss what they felt was best. So I'm not sure where that came from. The 5-minute warm-up never crossed my mind personally, and I was the one that was communicating with the commissioner. So you and Roger Goodell both effed this up. We never, frankly, it never crossed our mind to talk about warming up to resume play. That's ridiculous. That's insensitive. That's not a place that we should ever be in. The game was postponed 66 minutes after the hit and 36 minutes after Hamlin was transported off the field in an ambulance. The NFL announced Tuesday that the postponed game will not be completed this week, and Week 18, as of now, will be played as is. So ESPN and Joe Buck are firmly stating, no Troy Vincent, no Roger Goodell. We got this from you guys. We got this from the NFL. And I would be floored if John Perry, and I don't know this for sure, but I would be floored if John Perry was not on a conference call on speaker with Troy Vincent and Roger Goodell and so many others behind the scenes while Joe Buck and Troy Aikman was on the air, and they were all communicating back to ESPN and back to Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. I'm just saying, because Joe Buck's making it clear here, it came from the league. John Perry was getting that information from someone with the league telling him they've got 5 minutes to resume. The NFL is the one that looks incredibly bad in this, because it came out the next morning. It looked bad when we first heard it. 5 minutes? What the bleep? Sounds like somebody's dying out there. Possibly. You want to give these guys 5 minutes? They're all shook up. Guys are crying all over the field, for crying out loud. This obviously looks very, very serious. They started taking a lot of shit on social media, and all of a sudden they get up the next morning, and Troy Vincent, the very guy that last week walked into the owners' meetings and accused Jerry Jones and the rest of the NFL owners of being a bunch of slavers, that Troy Vincent came out the next morning, and yeah, they tried to back way off. And I'm sure Goodell said, we got to back way off. We look terrible here. And ESPN and Joe Buck, to their credit, they're not bending the knee to the National Football League. Now, does that mean that in the long run they won't? We will see, because the NFL is by far, obviously, the biggest ratings get. Live Monday Night Football is the biggest ratings getter for live TV or any other thing that they got that ESPN has. Generally speaking, the broadcast network usually bends the knee to the league. Right? I don't know. Maybe not this time, because they do look incredibly bad. Very bad. Tell me what you think, black and white sports supporters. Roger Goodell, Troy Vincent, continue. Look like a bunch of clowns. Peace. I'm out. Till next time. Black and White Network supporters, make sure you go over and check out the Black and White Network merchandise store. 25% off USA First. 25% off USA First. Go now.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.